I'm Morgan Freeman. Are you now? Not really. This is Elie, and he does a bunch of voices. Let Elmer. Oh boy, Rick, we're on Khaleej Times, Rick. Morty, you mean we're gonna be on the news, Morty? Oh boy! Gosh, Mickey. Like Zoing Scoob. Scooby snacks. Who disturbs my slumber? My name's Elie Iskandar, and you're watching Khaleej Time.
Today we have with us Elie Iskandar. He's the voice you heard everywhere. You hear it every day in your life.
I'm
Elie,
sorry about that.
welcome to Khaleej Time. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. How do you feel like your voice is everywhere? Like people recognize your voice?
I'm very proud to have been able to do a lot of voiceover work, but I don't know if anyone's getting annoyed by it because they just hear my voice everywhere. I have friends who are like, "Leave my YouTube alone. I'm trying to watch videos. I don't want to hear your voice all the time."
When do we hear you on YouTube? Can you do the YouTube voice?
Oh, I've done so many ads. I mean, most commonly on YouTube, I've done Talabat. Okay. Talabat, your everyday right away. Order now. That's the.
I feel like I want to order from Talabat.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a 5-year-old son.
Yeah.
Does he realize what's his dad doing?
Yes, he does. He loves what I do for a living. He is always curious to try to mimic the voices that I do. He's always trying to go up and down with his voice. He's like, look how deep my voice can go. And he's like trying to match what I'm doing. And whenever I have a recording session that I'm doing on my own, I try to kind of include him, let him see how it works, how a commercial works.
Does he have the talent though?
I think he does. It's starting to show now. So he's starting to change his voice drastically. So
that's nice. And does he go to his friends like, "Oh, my dad"?
Yeah,
you can hear my dad's voice all the time.
Exactly, he does. He does that all the time.
Elie, can you just tell us how did you start all this again?
It actually began. It's a funny story because two sides of it. One of them is the impressions side, where I do the character voices, cartoons, impressions, celebrities, and stuff like that. That started at a very young age, but a professional voiceover career started when I was around 16 years old. So it was, I heard this voice on the radio back in Beirut. It was on Mix FM, and he was going, Mix FM. And I was like, that's the coolest sounding guy I've ever heard. How does he do that? How does he get to that, to be that guy, to be the voice? So I looked up who that was, and I sent him an email, and I sent him a voice impression of his voice. So I was just doing kind of a mimic of what he sounds like. And he responded with, "Kid, you've got the pipes, you should be a voice actor." And that was like the push I needed back at that age. And within a year, I was voicing radio stations in the US from my home in Beirut. So that was a kind of a kickstart.
Okay.
When it comes to impressions, I was 8 years old when my mom sent me to my neighbor. My neighbor is a very old lady. She's very kind of, it's like she's compressed down to kind of a, and she smoked a lot, so she had a very rough, heavy voice. And I didn't know that back at that time. So I went there and I brought her some food. And when she saw me, she's like, "Lillo, Habibi, she's like, I want to kiss you, come here." Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, what kind of voice is that? So I went back home to my mom, and I just looked at my mom and said, "Mama." She's like, "You sound like our neighbor."
Yeah.
And that kind of started the whole ability to change my voice. It's like a quick discovery. And I'm an only child, so I would mute the TV and do the cartoons that are on the TV and try to mimic their voices.
But how did you do this? Like, how did you get the courage to do this professionally? Most people, when they get a hobby, they just have fun with it.
They tend to keep it as a hobby.
As a hobby, as a joke with their friends. But you took this a whole turn, like it's a professional.
Yeah. Look, when I found out that I have the ability to do that, it seemed like a dream job, to talk for a living and to get paid to talk. So I wanted to do whatever it takes to get there. So I started recording different styles and different types of ads and commercials, and I put together like a portfolio. I put it online on YouTube. I started landing my first jobs on YouTube. I just posting impressions and people contacting me, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" And the first few jobs that I did were for free, because I just wanted to have more and more demos to use. Once I had enough demos, I went to every studio that I know. I'm like, "Hey, this is my voice. Can we do something? I'll record." And for the longest time, I would just jump from studio to studio before getting my own equipment at home. I would just jump from studio to studio and start recording.
And you were only 17.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Back
Most
then, yeah.
17 guys don't know what they do with their lives. And you know what you want to do for a living. That's great.
I loved it. It was something that I knew I wanted to pursue, and if I can do it full time, I would definitely just do that. Just talk all day.
So what's the most fun voice you did?
One of the
Tell us
more-
about it and do it for us.
Yeah. My personal favorite voice to do, because it has so many layers, is Morgan Freeman's voice.
Wow.
And it's I'm going to break it down for you very quickly. So it starts off with something called gravel, which is this is gravel. That's the very depth of the voice.
Yeah.
And he's a bit nasally. So when he speaks, he sounds a bit nasal. So you put those two together and you start getting a voice that sounds like this. And then when you add modulation, like how he kind of changes his voice and goes up and down, and you add a little bit of a lisp to it, you get the voice of Morgan Freeman. So if we want to do like a line from that, from the time I played God in the movies, people mistook me for him. So kind of like going up and down and still maintaining the nasal tone, the little bit of a lisp, and the low cut.
You did it in Arabic.
I did that in Arabic,
to listen
yeah.
to Morgan Freeman speak in Arabic.
It was a trip, because I would always, whenever anyone says, "Can you do Morgan Freeman in Arabic?" I'm like, no, it's impossible. He has a Mississippi accent. He has his voice works in English. But when Discovery came to me with a chance to kind of actually dub Morgan Freeman's series, which is Through the Wormhole, I couldn't say no. What you wanted in Morgan Freeman's voice, we'll do it in Morgan Freeman's voice. It was a dream come true to kind of work on a project like that. And it was a very long project. So it was 7 days, give or take, every day, 7 hours of recording without moving out of the chair. So I was just in the studio for 6 to 7 hours every day, reading script after script after script, dubbing a whole season in 1 week.
You were practicing.
No, I was recording.
Recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was trippy and weird to do Morgan Freeman in Arabic, but it worked and they loved it and it's on air. So I'm very proud of that.
Nice. That's actually nice. And do you practice your voice?
And nowadays I've gotten used to it. So I just walk into the studio, I read a script and go. I can do a cold read, which means without reading the script at any point beforehand, I can still just record it from the first take, and it usually works. But I practice when I want to do a new impression or I want to study a new voice. That's when I get to kind of break it down, see what makes that voice unique. And
How do you study a voice?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do, let's say, Elmo's voice. Elmo loves you. So Elmo is really high, so you have to kind of know where to push when you're doing that voice or you're doing that performance. Or if you want to go really low, Cave of Wonders. So you have to see how
Scary.
you have to see how do you bring that voice down and how do you use it?
Because I see this on cartoon movies. They bring the characters that from behind, and I'm shocked when there's actually
These are the voices.
Are you planning on having participating in a cartoon movie?
I would love to. Look, I've done a lot of video games. I've done some cartoons on kids' channels here in the region. I've done small animated parts, but nothing that big yet, because a lot of my work is mostly commercial.
Yeah.
So I tend to do a lot of commercials. I tend to do a lot of different brands and different things. That's the quick job, quick buck. But I would love to do a character, own a character in terms of voice or develop a character in terms of voice. And I'm a former animator. I used to animate. So my dream was to kind of create my own series and voice the characters in it. Essentially what...
We hope to see
Yeah,
that.
hopefully
That
that
was
would
going to
be
be so much fun. Okay, so who's your son's favorite character of all? Our favorite
My son, yeah, he loves when I do Mickey Mouse, for example. He loves the deep voices. He's so obsessed with the deep voices. He's like, can you go deeper? Can you go deeper? I'm like, oh, okay, wait. But yeah, I mean, Mickey, I'm going to move away from the mic a little bit just to...
Okay.
Oh, boy. Hiya, pal.
It's a bit loud, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, I grew up in the 90s and I would watch Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. And these kind of characters are what I grew up watching, and I kind of were able to mimic those guys. Or like, Donald Duck, or, gosh.
Bro, I'm
So-
forgetting all my questions.
Like Zoink Scoob, Raggy. What like I mean those are the voices that shaped my
Yeah.
impressions. Hey boo boo, how's about a picnic basket? Yogi, no. You know, like it's fun to play two characters at once. Sometimes I'm in the car by myself. I'm like, oh geez, Rick, what is it, Morty? What do you want to do, Morty? And I'm just talking to myself all the way in traffic.
I bet you had like a lot of friends growing up. Because this is so cool. Like, this is so cool.
I did, yeah. I mean, it was fun to use that voice whenever you want, like calling someone and pretending to be someone else, doing prank calls, having fun with it, really, and pranking my friends. I used to, whenever I received calls that were unwanted, I would be like, "You've reached X," or whatever you want to call it. Let's say, "You've reached Elie. If you know the extension of the person you're calling, please dial it now." And they'll be like, what is this? Hello? And then they hang up.
That would be so
I'm like,
annoying. That would be so annoying. Like, I wouldn't take you serious anytime if I was your friend, you know? So, like, in the UAE, like, what's the most, like, known voices for you? Like, the one we usually hear?
Most of the Nissan ads, for example, the all-new Nissan Patrol, defy ordinary. That was a lot of the Patrol, all the series from Nissan, I've done that. Even if you go to Nissan in the showroom and you do the 3D tour, it's my voice guiding you in English and Arabic. Eand, the whole rebranding of Eand is also Eand, a global technology group. Sorry, I forgot that.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, I've done a lot of McDonald's, I've done a lot of KFC, Talabat obviously, and so much more. I mean, I've done Snickers, I've done Hyundai, I've done GMC, I've done Ford, I've done... So, but you have to change kind of your voice a little bit between the different types of brands because it depends on what kind of work you're doing. And being a director and a creative director gives me the ability to kind of understand the brief differently or on another level and see what I can bring to the table, more so than just kind of having a nice voice or a nice read.
So what's your like future plans? Where do you see this is going? Like, do you see a lot of people doing this? Like,
I encourage people to get into the voiceover industry because people are always on the lookout for new voices. It's always interesting to have new voices and to listen to new voices. But also, there's AI coming up. So,
what do you feel about that?
I mean, if we're gonna find a way to use it, that's where it's gonna be. Otherwise, it's gonna be the end of anything that's related to creativity. But from the looks of it, there's ways to use it for your advantage. So maybe we can record ourselves, train an AI model on our voice, and then at a later stage be able to sell that. But here's what I firmly believe, that for the next at least 5 or 6 years, we're still going to be able to do voiceovers just because clients like to give feedback. So you can't put an AI on and then tell it, you know what, try it this way or try it that way. And they're going to be
it's going to be very hard. I think that's good for you. That works good for you.
Yeah.
So Elie, tell us like, your wife, for example, like how does she feel about this? Like, is it like adding so much to the relationship? Is it fun to be around people like a person like you who can do voiceover?
I've been with my wife for nearly 15 years.
Inshallah.
But yeah, I mean, she's used to me. And she's the one who encouraged me in the first place to put my impressions out there on camera. So she loves it. She loves what I do, and it's always funny to use voices around the house and to do that. She's gotten so used to it. She's just not surprised anymore. She's just, I know it's you.
Yeah.
And she can pick up my voice in different ads. Like they were out, and I had done a song, and I didn't tell her that I did a song because I do a lot of different recordings.
Yeah.
And they're in a club, and she's listening, and she's like, "Is that my husband in the song? What is he doing there?" So she sent it to me. She's like, "Is that you?" I'm like, yeah, I've done that.
How did your parents like feel like a 17 years old or 16 years old and want to pursue this? Did they take you seriously? Did they support you?
Is that they've been the most supportive people I've ever met. So I'm an only child. I have no brothers, no sisters, and I'm their baby. So my mom and dad were always very super supportive of what I did. Even when I was a kid, I would start with, like I said, I'm an illustrator and animator, and I do sculptures as well. So I started sculpting at a very young age, and my mom showed me complete support on that. And they never really, they're not the type of parents who kind of let it go. And they're like, let's focus, let's get you what you need. You like sculptures, you like sculpting, let's get you to meet different sculptors. My father took me, rest in peace, he took me to different places to meet different sculptors in Lebanon.
Okay.
And see what their lives are like and introduce them to me. this kid who sculpts, who's like 4 years old, 5 years old. So it was really interesting. And they've always been supportive. So when I decided to do voiceovers and wanted to work in voiceovers, they loved it.
Thank you so much, Elie. That was so much fun. I think as my first interview, this is gonna be the most fun interview I did before. So thank you so much. I will be always hearing your voice, of course. It was an honor meeting you.
The honor is mine, and thank you for the lovely interview. You did a great job on your first time, and I'm glad I was your first choice. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Elie.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aunt.